So anyway, it was primitive. You had to bring in water in sacks. But I was there only about a month or two, I don't know.
Huh.
And then they transferred me over. I had taken stenography in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So they transferred me to General MacArthur's headquarters. And which at that time was in Brisbane in Australia.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first airplane ride I ever took.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
It was interesting because they were flying in the valley. There were mountains on both sides, and they were flying low in the valley. I don't know why.
I imagine that being really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for someone who'd never been in a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah.
And so how long were you in Brisbane?
Yeah. Well, at first, actually, I went to a place called Townsville, north of Brisbane. For some reason, we got separated. I don't know. My papers got separated.
Were you doing stenography up there?
Really not that much, but I really didn't. Well, actually, I guess I did at one point because there was one flight I took with some big shots colonels, and they were inspecting the various locations there, different islands. Everything was an island there. And then the colonel had dictated a report that I had to prepare. So that was another thing. While we were in B-25, which is it's a bomber, but it was converted to passenger
Oh, okay.
train. But while we were on the plane, there was another plane that one engine caught fire,
Oh, nice.
and we saw it. We could see it below. So, of course, I was the lowest rank on that on our plane. So they put me on the bombardiers in the nose, the seat in the nose of the plane,
Whoa.
to see to find that plane that had a fire on
So you were
board.
looking out of the nose of the plane?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And one guy bailed out of that burning
Oh.
plane.
Was he rescued?
I don't think so. I looked and looked and looked.
You
but
watched.
all you see is waves.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they said the plane did make it.
And then you came back to the United States after what? At what point?
After the war was over.
Yeah. So you were gone for how long? Were you gone?
Almost 3 years.
Almost 3 years.
But interesting to tell her when you got off in a new city, when you got off and your mother was walking in from the grocery store. He hadn't seen his mother in 3 years. Meanwhile, Sid and Florence got married while he was in the Army.
Right. Okay.
And so Sid came here to St.
Okay.
Louis.
Okay.
And, of course, his folks were alone when he was in service. So they moved to St. Louis to be with his brother.
Mm-hmm.
And when he got out of the Army, he came to St. Louis. You take it from there.
Wow. Yeah. That's it.
No, the story with your mother, I think, is
Oh,
so
yeah.
touching.
I wanted to surprise them. When I got out, at Jefferson Barracks, didn't even call him. So anyway, I was walking down on Eastgate, just close to where where we're living, and there was a woman walking there with a shopping bag. I wasn't quite sure it was my mother.
You weren't quite sure.
Yeah, after 3 years.
Yeah, it's been a long time. So did you saddle
Anyway,
up beside her?
It was her.
Yeah. Oh, she must have cried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was when you were done traveling with the Army, you came back to the States. Your family was here by then?
Yeah, in St. Louis. They had come from New York to St. Louis.
Okay, so
While
when
I
you
was in the
returned, you
Army.
came back here.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's right.
So when was that you got here?
Well, it was around Christmas time, 1945.
45. Wow. 65. You've been here 67 years in St. Louis?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah. Never thought of it.
I said Hitler was a son of a gun. The only good thing he ever did was to bring him here.
There you go.
Oh, that's sweet.
And he really wanted to be, he wanted to be a court stenographer because his cousins that lived in New York, she was married to an accountant, and he went to visit her, and he saw they lived really nice. And and then when he got here to St. Louis, Florence, his sister-in-law, is the one that, well, her boyfriend was an accountant. Is that what it was? And so she asked him what was the best school, because, he wanted to go to college. He was going to go into the GI Bill. Otherwise, he could have never gone to college. They came over here with nothing. And I think he said St. Louis University, and that's where Harry went. And thank goodness. It's a good thing. And that same sister-in-law was one of my customers, and she used to make me crazy. If I got a brother-in-law, he's sweet, he's kind, he's good-looking, he's this, he's that. Okay. And on the other side, she gave him the same business.
Wow.
Until after we get married, then she said, before we got married, she said, oh,
She's a good housekeeper, she's a good cook.
housekeeper, she's so pretty, and all that, After we get married, she said, well,
She wasn't a
Miss
Miss
America,
she
she's
was.
not.
All of a sudden, I changed. I was not that same person. Harry always says, then she tells me. But and when we got married, we went together 10 years. Then when we got married, of course, my father was long gone. He'd never met my father. My parents died young. And then my older brother gave me away. So Leonard, who was always a jokester. So,
Oh, I love this story.
and just when we're getting ready to, was it when it was over or before that Leonard said?
Before, the rabbi was still talking, and he
Paused.
He paused for a second.
And I said, I do.
He
And Leonard
"I
said,
do."
patience. And then, when the ceremony was over, Leonard turned to him. He says, now remember, no returns. So then later, Harry thought of it years later. He says, I should have said to him, can I have an exchange at least?
Another model.
Leonard was always such a jokester.
Funny.
And we have a recording of the ceremony.
Oh, you did?
Evelyn, where is that? I don't know. But we hear Leonard say, patience, patience. And the rabbi who married us, every time he still calls me bride, and the rabbi cracked up because, he just stopped to pause, and I said, I do. I didn't even hear the ceremony. I just thought it was over.
You were excited.
Our family was there, and I was touched because my parents couldn't be there, and his parents couldn't be there. Harry's mother, if there was an angel that lived on this earth, that woman was an angel. She was the same nature. Thank God I got the same nature. He's got her nature. The sweetest, kindest person you ever met. I don't think she ever raised her voice, do you? Never. So sweet. And you know, in the old Jewish people, if you're going together a while, they'd say, so when? So when? They never, ever bother, ask us anything. They never butted. And the saddest thing is, his father died 6 months before we got married, and so that we didn't have any parents. But Leonard made our rehearsal dinner, which was bigger than our wedding.
Really?
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
What did he make?
Really, it was at one of the, where was it? In Clayton. What was it called? Where was the name of it? It was in Clayton. It was a beautiful wedding, just beautiful. It was prettier than our wedding and bigger than our wedding.
Wow.
He really gave me away. He wanted to get rid of me
I was
that
going to say,
bad.
he was done with you.
It was so funny. Remember, no returns.
I think my dad repeated that line to you when we got married.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he really?
I think he did. I think he said that to you.
Because that was a famous,
Yeah.
thing. How he was so sharp. Leonard had such a sharp mind. He was always joking. And I don't think he ever had a terrible thing to say about anything. He loved everybody. He was like my father. He and my father, not only did they look alike, they acted it. Leonard looked just like him.
Yeah.
But not as a young man. As a young man, my mother was Polish. She was from Poland, and my father was from Russia. A mixed marriage, as Harry would say. And she was very, blue-eyed, blonde hair, and Leonard was very fair.
See, that's interesting. Blue eyes, blonde hair. Blue eyes. She does have blue eyes. Are you going to keep your blue eyes?
Sure, that's a great-grandmother, great-great-grandmother. Yeah, she was blue-eyed, blonde hair, high cheekbones, typical Polish.
Polish.
Unfortunately, I look like my dad's side. Dark hair, dark eyes.
I like dark hair and
that's
dark
pretty.
eyes, too.
Yeah, that's pretty.
We've just been trying to figure out where the blue eyes came from. I mean, my brother has blue eyes.
Yeah, I think Leonard's eyes, they were hazel, but they picked up blue. They picked up colors. Yeah, Leonard looked like my mom. But as he got older, he looked just like my dad.
What time is it?
It's 25,
Oh, it's 1:45.
20 minutes to 1.
Oh, wow.
Well, we went through the whole generation.
Well, I do need to go home
Yeah.
at some point because my computer's there. I at least need to get it, if nothing
Right.
else. So you didn't text that, did you?
No. I didn't. If you give me my phone, I'll do it. You can turn it on. Thank you. I had him videotaping it.